Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and I hope everyone's is well. So this is actually our first PG sharing sessions for the academic calendars of 2022-2023. And our special guest today, actually from the USM, Dr. Wan Nurhaniza Wan Hassan. Dr. Wan Nurhaniza will deliver topics on the introductions and research background, do and don'ts. Basically, I hope that this sharing sessions could guide the students' research journey. For those that is new to this research, that will help you guide your research. And for those that is actually been there, students that have been there for a few years, these sharing sessions could actually help you to refresh, and revisit on the sections of introductions and research background. The first, if people read your thesis, the first chapter will be introduction and research background. So this is really important. Okay, before we start, allow me to read a little bit about Dr. Wan Nurhaniza, so sorry. Before we start, yeah. Okay, Dr. Wan Nurhaniza Wan Hassan hold a Bachelor of Science degree from University Science Malaysia, and a Master of Social Science in Islamic Development Management in 2010. She also holds a Doctor of Philosophy in Islamic Development from University Science Malaysia, the same university. And interestingly, Dr. Wan also has a Master of Islamic Economy in 2019 from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. So this is a bit rare, Doctor. After you done with your PhD, then you start with your master. So maybe you could share a bit about that. And then she is now the Deputy Director and Senior Lecturer of the Center for Islamic Development Management Study, ISDAF. I think some of students know ISDAF, USM. And then during her doctorate study, she actually is a good student. She received Best Research Award from USM for her study on Islamic Development Index. And she now continue her interest and research on Islamic Sustainable Development Index. So basically, it's the Islamic Index with integration of a sustainable element. She was also involved with research pertaining to economic development of B40, human development, and halal management research. I think, and she has actually published various publications, chapter in book, academic paper, journal article, and she and her team have been granted with grant from Triple IT for a textbook in Islamic based development. I think the other interesting point here is actually Dr. Wan Nurhaniza actually have a bachelor degree in life sciences, and for her post graduate study and master degree and also doctoral degree is actually in Islamic economics and Islamics development. So basically, this is actually two different areas. But this, the training that she obtained from this different area actually enable her to integrate interdisciplinary approach in her research and lectures. So that is actually quite lengthy introduction from me. So I hope that you could benefit from the sharing session. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's Dr. Wan share.
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much, Dr. Anis Najiha. I just want to correct one thing. I think I gave you my old profile. Actually, I am not, currently I'm not anymore the Deputy Director of ISDAF. Alhamdulillah. The task has been passed to the other senior lecturers in ISDAF, Alhamdulillah. So, thank you so much for the introduction. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Okay, first of all, I would like to confess that I am not really expert in using Teams. Okay, because in USM we are mostly using WebEx for teaching and learning. However, most of the administrative use Teams, but I always become a participant when using Teams. So I would like to ask Dr. Anis, how can I share my
Okay, so there is actually a button there, share button,
okay share button?
just beside the leave button there.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you click on the share button, you could see there's a window there.
Window.
Yeah, there is a screen and window. So from the window that you could select.
Okay, okay.
Mm.
Oh, maybe because I'm using a MacBook, so
Oh, MacBook.
I face some difficulties on that. Okay, wait. Because it keeps
Maybe I can
asking
share
for
it for you.
privacy.
Do you allow me?
Okay, because I need to change a few times from the PowerPoint and then after that to the web. Okay, click the log. Okay, first. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Okay, I have to quit first and then after that I will join again. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Doktor. So we will wait for Dr. Wan Nurhaniza to join in again, yeah?
Okay, Assalamualaikum Doktor. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. So, all right. Share and then okay, screen. Okay. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Not sure with others, but I cannot see it, Doctor. Wait,
You cannot
let me
see it?
see. Others, can you see it? Dr. Hidayu, can you see, the slide shared?
Not yet.
Not yet,
Okay. Because okay, wait. I'll try again. Can you see now?
I could not see. I cannot see it.
Alamak. Okay lah. I think maybe
Do you need me to share it for you, Doctor?
Okay. I will give the PowerPoint to you, Dr. Anis.
Yes. Through WhatsApp is also okay, Doctor.
Okay, I will send through WhatsApp.
Yeah. So I'm sharing this. So can you see the slide, everyone?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay.
Okay, Doctor. Thank you so much. Okay. Inshallah, everyone. Today I will give you some sharing on the introduction and research background, the do's and the don'ts. And don't worry, I actually this is not a lecture. I would like to make this as a discussion, and I hope that everyone can give feedback and talk, and also give some response, even in any ways that you are comfortable with. I also can read from the chat section, so you may also give your response from the chat section. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Anis, for sharing this slide. So maybe we can proceed to slide number 2. Okay, just to take your attention, to get your attention, you can go to menti.com and put in code 54466541, or you can just directly scan the QR code, and we will conduct some polling, inshallah. Okay, everyone, please do so. I hope actually I would like to invite all the students to give a response, but if the lecturers who are also in this session may also give your response, but this is directly on the writing of thesis. So please, students, can you give me some response on this? Okay, just go to menti.com. Okay, someone has give their response actually. One person. The first question is, what is the stage of your research now? I would like to know more about our attendance today. What are the stages that you are currently now? Okay, just scan the QR code, or you can also go to menti.com and put in the code 54466541. Okay, so far we have 2 responses. Okay. Okay, let's see how many. Okay, we have actually 18 participants in these meetings, but I assume half of it are lecturers maybe. So I hope that we can get at least 10 responses. So far we already get 7 responses. So please give your response on what is the stage of your research now, so that I can know more about you. In the Malay we call tak kenal maka tak cinta. So that I would like to know more about you, so that I can deliver this sharing better, hopefully. Meanwhile, maybe I can ask Dr. Anis. Dr. Anis, does INHART have a specific format for chapter 1?
Yeah, we do. It's
Okay.
an IUM template.
IUM template. Okay. So usually in chapter 1 is the introduction. Chapter 2?
Chapter 2 is literature review.
Okay.
And then chapter 3 methodology.
And then
the
after that,
usual,
data
yeah.
and result. Okay,
Yes.
almost the same with
Yeah.
USM. Okay, there are 8 participants has answering the poll, has participate in the poll. Okay, no problem. Okay, I will send this result to Dr. Anis. Maybe Dr. Anis can share with you. Okay. All right.
This, okay.
Okay, Doctor.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is the result that has been for the poll that has been participated by 8 participants today. Actually, I've got just now another one participant has answered the poll. Okay, based on this, based on your answer, most of you are currently in chapter 2, I believe, in literature review. And then there are some collecting data, maybe currently in the stage of chapter 4 or 5, maybe. Okay, some of you are drowning while looking for problem statement. Okay, this is also in the I believe in the earlier stages of your research. Trying to find the best methodology for my research. Totally lost in the jungle of knowledge. I totally understand that feeling. While you are lost in the jungle of knowledge, there are lots of knowledge around you, but you don't know how to manage the knowledge, and also you don't know how to organize the knowledge so that the knowledge can be useful for your thesis. I totally understand with that situation too. In chapter 1, analyzing data, so congratulations for you. For those who are currently analyzing data, and some of you are just picking your study. Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Anis, for that. Okay, there are question number 2 actually. I would like to ask you to continue with the Mentimeter and go to the second question. How do you start your research? Okay. If you are unable to go to the second question, please inform me. But I hope that you can go and answer the question. How do you start your research? The option is finding issue, conducting literature review, think, and think, asking supervisor to give title, and other strategy. If you choose other strategy, please share with us. I would like to learn more from you, and also I believe that your friends want to learn more from you. What are the other strategies that you can use? Dr. Anis, I would like to ask you, do you hear some noise as my background?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure.
A
I'm
bit.
not sure what they are doing currently in East Dev, because we have some renovation. So I'm sorry for that.
Okay,
If
but I can still hear your voice clearly. You know, it's just a bit the background there, but I can still hear you.
okay, Alhamdulillah. So if it's become too noisy, please inform me ya. Pencemaran bunyi. Okay. Can you go to the second question, everyone? Do you able to go to the second question?
Sorry, doctor. It says, what is the stage of your research now? That's what I'm getting at.
Oh no, the second question.
When I scan, that's the question I found.
Oh, okay. Okay. What about now?
Let me try. It says question number 1. It's first question. It says still. I don't know about others.
Oh, still the question number 1, yeah? Ah, okay. Someone has answered. Finding issues.
Can we try again, doctor?
Yes, please try again.
Is it how do you start your research?
Yes. How do you start your research?
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, Alhamdulillah, 10 of you have been answered the poll I have sent to Dr. Anis so that Dr. Anis can share the result of the poll. InsyaAllah.
Can you see the feature? Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Anis. Okay, the question is how do you start your research? And the first, most of you answer finding issues and then followed by think and think and think. And then conducting literature review, asking supervisor to give title, and some of you has answered other strategies. For those who are answering other strategies, can you please share what are the strategies that you use in starting your research so that I can learn from you and your friends can learn from you. We can learn from each other actually. We are using the technique of relearning and also co-learning. Not because I'm a lecturer, I give you lectures and I know everything. No, we can always learn from each other. And I believe that the postgraduate students, this session is also only for postgraduate students. So I think all of you are postgraduate students and all of you have your own experience and your own knowledge, so that we can learn from each other and benefit from each other, inshallah. So, okay. For those who are starting your research by finding issues first, I think you might be someone who are already in the industry that you are trying to do your research area. And for those who are using the strategy of thinking and thinking and thinking, beware of these strategies, okay? Because these strategies might cause you lost in the jungle of knowledge, and might cause you become a loner. We have few undergraduate students. Okay, so for those who are undergraduate students and final year project students, welcome. But the second strategy is a dangerous strategy. Actually, the think is a dangerous strategy. If you are currently in this strategy, using this strategy, I would like to invite you to use other strategy, such as conducting literature review. Conducting literature review is one of the safest strategy for starting your research, because when you are starting your research by conducting literature review first, you will understand the background of your research area, the situation or the current situation of your research area. So it is better for you to start your research by conducting literature review. So for those who are trying to find issues and also using the think strategy, if you are not yet able to start your research, use the third strategy, which is conducting literature review. From there, you can understand the situation, and also you can understand what are the best conduct in your research area. Okay, the fourth strategy for postgraduate study, I really don't recommend this strategy. And if your supervisor give the title to you, I think your supervisor is so kind person, because for me, I will never give a title for my students directly. Usually my students came to me and give their own title, and then after that I will improve the title academically. So if you are asking your supervisor to give title, I hope these are for the undergraduate students, not for the postgraduate students. But in case if you have no idea and your supervisors have research grant, and he or she give you the title for your thesis, the title for your research, please do not rely on your supervisor. These are one of the cases that I would like to avoid for postgraduate students, because postgraduate students are supposed to be partially or minimum supervised compared to final year students, compared to undergraduate students. So when you are asking your supervisor to give you title, please make sure that you are conducting your research on your own and not relying on your supervisor, okay? Even though he or she gave you the research title. Okay. Dr. Anis, if in case the noise become too bad, please inform me, okay? So because they are starting to knock, and I think they are cutting some metals here. Okay, so the other strategies not yet sharing with us, it's okay. So I believe there are lots of more other strategies, but most of the research books and research writing suggest for you to start your research by conducting literature review first, for you to understand the current situation or the focus in your research area. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Anis, for sharing this photo. Can you go back to the slides? Okay, Dr. Anis, maybe you can use the. Okay. All right. Okay. Next slide. Okay. The introduction chapter. What is the introduction chapter? Actually, the introduction chapter is the first impression of the thesis, and this is the first, just like what Dr. Anis said. The introduction chapter is the first thing that examiner sees after the title and also the abstract pages. Okay, and from this introduction chapter, the examiners usually will form an opinion, sometimes quite a strong one, and based on this first chapter, they will start to create some stigma on what are the rest of the text will be, what are your thesis will be, what are your dissertation will be. Therefore, in your introduction chapter, you should explain what you are writing about and why it is important. Saying simply that it is interest, that your research area is interest, because your personal interest is not enough. So you have to show why, give some justification why these things should be studied, and also why it has to be scientifically conducted in your research area. You might also indicate in general terms the theoretical approach or perspective that you will be using in your thesis or in your research. Okay, please use this introduction chapter as a chapter for you to introduce your research, your whole research, not only the certain part of your research, but use it as a first chapter to get the first impression, a good first impression from your examiner and from your reader. Okay, Dr. Anis, the next slide. Okay, basically, this is what I asked Dr. Anis just now. The structure, these are the general structure of a thesis, but actually, in introduction chapter usually consists of this: the introduction of the chapter, background of research, problem statement, research objectives, research questions, operational definition, scope and limitation, significance of the study, contribution of the study, and also thesis organization. Some of you might have hypotheses, might have different arrangement. Basically, what I'm sharing with you now is the structure, the introduction chapter structure used by ISDEF. So usually most of our students has no hypothesis. We are not including hypothesis in the first chapter because most of ISDEF students use a qualitative approach. And we did not rely on any specific theory. Therefore, we are not using a hypothesis in the introduction chapter. We do not put hypothesis in the introduction chapter. But however, if INHART use this kind of structure, I believe that INHART has INHART's own format. So please obey the format of INHART, inshallah. Yeah? Okay. So we are going to discuss about only the first three: the introduction, the background of research, and also maybe a little bit on the problem statement. We are not going to discuss the other parts of the introduction chapter, such as research objective, research question, operational definition, because this can be another lecture. In ISDEF, actually, for master student, we gave each of these subtopic 3 hours for each subtopic. So I think if we discuss everything today, you will have apa nama kita panggil knowledge load kan, cognitive load. So we are going to focus only on introduction and also background of research and a little bit on problem statement. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, Doctor? When you are writing your research introduction, the introduction of your thesis, you can always use the inverted pyramid tactics. Okay, and this inverted pyramid tactics can be used in both background of your research and also the problem statement of your research. The inverted pyramid tactics start from the broad statement of your research area. In this broad statement, you can indicate the general terms of your theoretical approach and also the perspective you will be using and why they are used in your research. And then after that, based on this broad statement of your research area, for example, you are conducting research on halal GMO, for example, GMF, okay, genetically modified food. Alhamdulillah, for my biological background, I can talk about that. Okay, you are conducting research on halal GMF, for example. So the broad statement of your research area is on, you can choose between halal and also you can choose, you can choose between halal and also genetically modified food, for example. Choose one. Which one of the research area that you would like to make your thesis or your research stand to, which is halal or GMF first. Even though your research combine these two things or these two focus, but put your thesis in only one research area so that after that your discussion will guide you better. If you use both, it will become too shallow. It might become like jack of all trades but master of none. So focus your research area in one specific research area, and then from that you can do the integration. Okay, all right. So for example, you are choosing halal as the research area instead of GMF. So you can start the broad statement of the research area from the halal perspective. So this will become a little bit Islamic because what are halal? Halal start from the, not only from the food but also from the lifestyle. Okay, you might start with that and then focusing on food, and then you can go specifically to GMF after that. And what makes GMF can become something debatable in the halal perspective? What makes why GMF can become something shubha, for example? These are the specific discussion of the research area that you would like to relate to the issues that you will study in your research. Okay, that is when we are using halal as the research area. Okay, apart from that, you can also use GMF as your research area. For example, if you are more scientific person and you are doing your research in lab, I think just now I tried to go to INHART website. INHART has laboratory, is it? So for example, you are someone that is more scientifically, so your research are more on GMF instead of halal. So you can start your research area discussing your broad statement of research area by discussing about GMF, and then after that, what are the conflict in GMF between GMF and halal, and this will become the specific discussion of the research area. Okay, is it okay? Is it understandable? Okay, all right. And then after that, after you relate to this issue, you can start discussing your problem statement. For me, personally, I don't like a lengthy problem statement. because it is a statement. It is not a discussion. Okay, so it is a statement. So when you are writing a problem statement, you can start with general discussion of the research issue. Okay, make it differentiate between research area and research issue. Just now in your background of research, you are discussing about your research area. In your problem statement, do not discussing about your research area anymore, but discuss about your research issues. So the general discussion of the research issues are about GMF and also about the halal. And after that, after discuss this generally, go to specific discussion on the motivation of the study in regard of the issues. Why these issues should be studied? Why a study must be conducted on this issue? What are the importance? Okay, give your justification and start asking. You can always put questions in your problem statement. It is better for you to give question in your problem statement instead of giving answer in your problem statement, because if we already have the answer, what are the purpose of your research, right? What are the purpose of the study if you already have the answer? So you can always give question in your problem statement and shows that these are the motivation the motivation for you to conduct the study. Okay, so the inverted pyramid tactics, I think this strategy can be used not only in background of research or not only in problem statement, but you can always also use it in your literature review too. Okay, in your literature review, for example, just additional info. In your literature review, for example, you can start with a general discussion of the research area of the literatures that are discussing related to your study. And then after that, towards the end of your chapter 2, maybe you can go into a more specific subject of your study. Okay, so these are the inverted pyramid tactics. Okay, Doctor, next slide. Okay, there are three actually. I put this the introduction chapter into three steps. Okay, the step 1 is the preliminary step. In discussing in your research background, you have to get to know what is your field of research. Okay, these are the first. This is the first thing that you must know. What is your field of research? If you do not know what is the field of your research, then it will become some problematic for your research. Okay, establish your research area and directly introduce the research area in your chapter 1 in your research background. Okay, from this, you must know what are the top publications in your field of research. Journals, books, reports, everything related to your field of research. Refer, review, and cite the important publication of the research area. And based on this, you should know who are the players in your field of research. For example, in GMF, who are amongst the best or the most prominent writers or the most prominent scientists in discussing about GMF. And for the halal, related to food, related to GMF, for example, who are the prominent scholars related to this field of research? It might be the current scholars, it might be kita panggil apa, ulama kan, the mujtahid scholars. So who are they? You should know this when you are starting your research. So to know this, you must know what are the top publications. Okay, so therefore it is very important for you to start your research by reading. Okay, read every publication related to your research, related to your study. Okay, the next step, Doctor. Step 2. Okay, the next step, the step 2. What are the trends occurred in your field of research? So you have already collected the publications, the prominent, from prominent scholars, for example, the top publications in your field of research. So what are the trends occurred? So based on this, you should know the history of your research area. So from where, how GMF started, for example, how halal discussion started. Maybe you can start from Al-Quran, maybe you can start from Hadith if you are focusing directly on halal. But if you are focusing on GMF, for example, you can start from how the food has been modified genetically, for example. It started maybe not from genetic technology, but it can be started from the tissue culture technology first, and then after that going to genetic discussion, the DNA and everything, for example. Okay, so you should know the history of your research area. And then the next one, what are related issues in your field of research? Okay, this should connect you to the importance of your research. Just now we are discussing about the research background, and now you should know what are the related issues in your field of research. Is there any conflict between theory and reality, for example? The theory is GMF should provide food for all the population in the world. For example, GMF is produced to provide staple food for us, for example. However, the reality, they are showing a lot more health issues related to GMF, for example. Okay, I'm not really into GMF, but I just saying, I believe that you know better on your research area. So is there any conflict between theory and reality? You can always discuss in your first chapter. Is there any mismatch of practices, for example? Okay, for example, GMF should conducted using certain best practices or certain ethics that must be followed, for example. Do you found any report that shows any mismatched practices? Do you found any controversial issues in regards of the practices of your research area, for example? And then the unconventional case, for example, you are usually there are negative impact of the areas that you are research on. Okay, for example, the impact of I'm sorry, this is going to be development studies approach, but these are what came into my mind. For example, usually we can see that there are issues on low educated migrants in certain population, and however it shows that these migrants give economic impact positively to the population. These are the example. Okay, so this is the unconventional case that you can found, that you might found while conducting your while reading the literatures related to your research area. So the unconventional case can be the issues that you would like to study, how this situation can become unconventional and what we can learn from that. Okay, so the issues in your field of research can be something that you would like to study, and what the audience or the general public people can learn from this situation. Okay, all right, that is the step 2. Let's go to the step 3. Dr. Anis. The step 3 is the real step for your research, for your research background. So, you should know who are the players of the issue of your research. Who involved in this issue, parties involved in the issues. For example, government agencies, local authorities, civil societies, you, for example, postgraduate students, if your research related to postgraduate students, universities, industry, for example. Okay. And then discuss on why does your research matter. And these are the window for you to go to your problem statement. Why does your research matter? Relate to the issue of the research area, to whom and how these issues matter. Okay, so these 3 steps, the preliminary steps, the next steps, and also the real steps are 3 steps that you should discuss in your research background, in the introduction part of your research, in your thesis. And then from this, from the step 3, you can start link your discussion in research background to your problem statement, so that we can understand that in problem statement you will directly state what are the issues that you will study in your research. Okay, some of the students prefer to keep the issues in the problem statement, but for you, but actually most of the examiner prefer to know a little bit about your issues, to have a basic idea on what you are going to study instead. Okay, so therefore do not discuss your introduction part in too general form. Okay, start with the general form and then direct it into more specific on your research issues. Okay, all right, this is the step 3, and then we will go to the do's and the don'ts. Inshallah, we are not going to take a longer time, inshallah. The do's and the don'ts. The do's for your research background: before discussing the background of your research, only briefly introduce the overall content of your thesis, aims, method, and also finding. What are the aims of your thesis? What are the aims of your study? What are the methods that you will be used? Maybe the strategy, the quantitative, the qualitative, the deductive, the inductive, the paradigm that you will use. Maybe a little bit about positivism if you are using positivism paradigm, for example. Okay, and also a little bit introduce about the findings that you would like to have in your study, in your thesis. Okay, avoid lengthy argument. Avoid discussing what is specifically each of your aims, each of your objectives, for example. Avoid to do that. And what are the method, for example. Avoid lengthy argument. Okay, just overall content of your thesis. Okay, the second one that you should do is discuss comprehensively the background of your research area, but not the whole historical aspect of the discipline of your research. Okay, for example, you are discussing about halal. Okay, you can discuss comprehensively about halal. However, do not discuss the whole historical aspects. For example, maybe a bit about how the alcohol become haram, for example. But however, you don't have to discuss in lengthy form of these historical aspects of your research. If in case, let's say, I believe you are in INHART, so you are not going to study directly historically aspect of the Islam. So therefore, do not discuss the historical aspect in a lengthy form in your research background. Okay. and focus directly to the area and relates the discussions with the issues investigated in the thesis. Okay, focus directly to the area. Okay, do not discuss aspects of the research field that are unrelated to research issues. Okay, for example, if you want to discuss about halal related to food, you don't have to discuss about riba, for example, even though it is related to halal economics, even though it is related to halal finance. So you don't have to discuss something unrelated to your research issues. Okay. Research background should show connection between each keywords of your thesis and connect. Okay. Interconnectivity of the keyword enable establishment of the related concepts or theories of the research area. For example, my previous example on halal and also GMF. So you should discuss interconnectively. Do not discuss, okay, halal in one part and then GMF in another part. So there are no connection between these two. Okay. And show connection between the established concept to the issues on your research and also bridging research background with problem statement. Okay, do not discuss your research background in one part and then the problem statement without connection between each other. Okay, please discuss your research background and also your problem statement in a fluid form. Make sure the discussion connected to each other. So avoid segmented and no connectivity discussion. All right, that's all actually for my sharing. However, I would like to go to the last part of this sharing, which is discussion, and I would like for you to all the participants, including the final year project student, to give a response. Okay, Dr. Anis, we can go to the final slide, the 10th slide. Okay, this. Okay. Students, please give me your response in the chat, okay? In the chat section, in the meeting chat section. Can I put hadith and Al-Quran verses in the research background? Okay, just based on your thesis, not the other thesis. Based on your thesis, can you put hadith and also Al-Quran verses in your research background? Yes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Abdul Qadir. Yes, okay. Okay, thank you for the response. Thank you, Nadia. All right, you always can put hadith and also Al-Quran verses in the research background. However, you don't have to put all hadith and Al-Quran in your research background. Please choose wisely hadith and Al-Quran that is directly related to your discussion. Okay, do not put something that is unrelated to your discussion. Okay, it is better for you to not only put hadith and Al-Quran and also the meanings of the verses, but you can also include the tafsir. What are the mufassirin said about this Al-Quran and also about the hadith verses that you would like to put in your research background. Okay, just make sure that is directly related to your discussion. Okay, the second question. Should I include the old hypothesis theory concept of my research field? Should you? Should you put the old hypothesis theory or concept of your research field? For example, when discussing about GMF, you put Darwin's the survival of the fetus theories, for example. Okay, Mr. Abdul Qadir said no. Mr. Azam said theory, yes. The other answer? Do you have any other answer? Rafiu said yes.
Dr. Wan, just to clarify, it is in the chapter 1.
Yes, in the chapter 1.
Chapter 1, okay.
Should I include the old hypothesis, theory, concept of my research field in the chapter 1? Sorry, in the when discussing about background. Okay, some of you answer yes and some of you answer no. It's actually okay for you to put some old hypothesis or some old theory or concept in your research field while discussing about your research background. However, it is better for you to focus on the current concept. Okay, focus on the current theory or current hypothesis, because some of the old hypothesis, theory and concept face too many critics actually, because the theories are from human, right? And human makes fast argument, for example. So if the theories, if you want to include the old hypothesis or theory or concept, please make sure that this hypothesis, theory or concept are still relevant, are still significant to your research field. Some of the hypothesis, theory or concept has been proven that it is not reliable or not significant anymore. So if you include this old hypothesis, theory or concept, please make sure that it is still relevant and also it is still significant to your research field. Okay, don't worry, there are correct or false answer actually. In postgraduate studies, everything are ambiguous, everything are in the gray area, so there are no black and white. It's okay for you to put and it's okay for you to not include. Okay, just make sure it is significant if you want to include. Okay, is it a must for me to discuss the conventional hypothesis, theory, concept of my research field if my research is on Islam? Okay, most of you in INHART, in UIA, for example, in IUM, conduct discussion or conduct study on related to Islam. So is it a must for you if your research or if your thesis is on Islam? Is it must for you to discuss about conventional hypothesis or theory or concept? Should be okay. Thank you, Mr. Abdul Qadir, for your prompt response. Okay, anyone else? May I know, Mr. Abdul Qadir, what is your research field?
I'm just starting, doctor, and so I want to do halal travel and tourism.
Halal tourism, okay, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take your research field as the example. Okay, tourism is a research field that has been vastly studied, right? Tourism, conventional tourism. Okay, should you discuss about the conventional theories related to tourism when you are actually studying about halal tourism, the Islamic part of tourism? Okay, your mentioning should be okay, and then Mr. Rafiu said yes to. Okay, actually it is okay for you to discuss using the discuss the conventional hypothesis or theory or concept of your research field, even though your specific focus of your research is on Islam. But the conventional hypothesis and theory and concept that you are trying to discuss must be critics. You should put some critics. You should put your analytical views of this conventional theory. Okay, do not put just directly, okay, these are the conventional theories and put some ayat, put some verses of Al-Quran and Hadith to make it Islam, for example. Do not use this kind of method. However, you can always discuss about, for example, the theories related to tourism, and then what is the Islamic point of view of or the Islamic analysis of these theories. Okay, discuss about this too. Okay. If let's say your discussion or your study is something related to Islamic finance or Islamic economics, and this field actually has vastly studied and vastly researched by the previous Islamic scholars, I think you don't have to put the conventional hypothesis, theory or concept in your research background, because Islamic finance and Islamic economics is a strong research area, and it can stand on its own, and you don't have to put or discuss any conventional point of view on that. Okay. Okay, the next question is it important for you to include statistical figure in your research background? Is it important? Important or not? Not in the background. Okay. Yes, you don't have to put statistical figure actually. But if, let's say, the statistical figure is very important for you to show issues of your research, then you can put. If it is just to show the situation, you don't have to include the statistical figure in your research background. Okay, so make sure it is is it very important for you to put the statistical figure? What are the purpose of the statistical figure for you to put in your research background? If it is very important for you to show the statistics of certain information, then you can include. However, if it is not that significant, then you don't have to include in your research background. And what is the best time? For me, I think it is better for you to include around 10 years. Okay, don't go more than that. And what is the proposed length for your research background? I think it is better for you to limit it into at most 30 pages. Don't go beyond that. Okay. All right. I think the noise in my part has become worse. So Dr. Anis, back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Wen, for a very informative sharing. I think I also learned a lot. I hope students, learn a lot from you as well. There are, of course, that few things that I also agree. For example, in terms of the one that you pointed out there, in terms of connectivity of the idea, I think some students may have a problem with that. And then the do and don'ts, and then sometimes students tend to actually add everything that they have and put it in a thesis. That is not really good. It's not really a good idea to do that. I always believe that a concise but accurate thesis, it is actually much better than the one that is thick but without what we call that, without essence. I think that we took like about 15 minutes from your time, Dr. Wan. We are supposed to end it at 11, but I saw, I see there Brother Rafiu is actually like raising his hand. You want to say some things, brother? Brother? Well, perhaps just a press the button. But I just wonder whether others actually have questions to ask Dr. Wan before we end the session.
Yes, doctor, the last question. I don't know.
Yeah, brother. Yes.
You said, yeah. I just want to find out, is there a word count for introduction and research background that you recommend for any research?
Word count, yeah.
Word count, yeah.
Do you have
Introduction
any,
and for the
do
research
you have
background,
any
you recommend?
recommendations, Dr. Wine, for the chapter 1, is it, brother?
Yes, chapter 1,
Yeah,
yes.
yes. Brother Irshad.
Okay, thank you. I think it's too noise, so I will type it in the chat. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. Yes, doctor. Thank you.
Either, is it okay? So, the one suggestion is like not more than 30 pages. Is it for chapter 1? And that, Dr. Wine? Okay, so there is actually other questions by Brother Rafiul. He said that as part of sharings and mentoring, I want to know how Dr. Wan managed to back another master degree after her PhD. I think that will need another sharing session. But perhaps briefly, Dr. Wan, can you? Yeah.
Okay, actually, I'm not sure how did I do it. Actually, it becomes like a dream. Uh, I conduct my PhD part time, so I have to go to UKM every weekend. So it's become a life for me for two and a half years. But Alhamdulillah, I think one of the most important thing is time and also energy management. So if you can manage your time and energy wisely, inshallah you will be able to do everything, almost everything that you would like to do, and these are including your PhD too. Okay, so if you actually ask Allah for everything, He will help you, inshallah. Okay, Dr. Anis, makin bising saya ni.
Okay. Okay, I don't think that Dr. Wan can actually take another another questions. But I think that is actually a very great point that the one point out there. Ask Allah, for helps, in things that we think impossible. But of course we need to make an effort for that. But at the end, it is what we, our connections with our Lord. Okay, so I think that's it from us. Thank you so much, Dr. Wan Nohaniza, for a very actually interactive sharings. Not only, and then the other one is actually to manage your energy and time wisely. I don't think you will have actually extra time if you actually take master, another master degree while teaching full time also, right, in USM. Okay, there are a few things that Dr. Wan shared that, I teach research background, research methodology. Maybe, the approach could be different, but I tend to agree with lots of points that Dr. Wan made there. So thank you so much, everyone, all the students, all the lecturers, my FYP students, for attending the sessions. So I hope perhaps later if you have like more opportunity to ask Dr. Wan to talk to our student, We hope the one will, you know, accept our invitation. Thank you so much. So I think so we could end these sessions with tasbih kifar on Surah Al-As. Thank you so much, everyone. Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Dr. Wan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.